Hello, I'm Carlton Van Putten, founder and CEO of PayRent. Welcome to the Keys to Success podcast, where we unlock the secrets to smarter investments, smoother tenant management, and bigger profits, one episode at a time. Ready to master your property game? Let's dive in.
Welcome back to Keys to Success. Unlock your financial potential. When it comes to renting, whether you're the one owning the property or the one calling it home, there's one thing that plays a massive role for both sides, and that's credit scores.
Yeah, absolutely. It's kind of the key that unlocks so many doors in the financial world, right?
Totally. So today, we're going to break down exactly what makes up your credit score, how it affects you as a landlord or a tenant, and most importantly, how to make it work for you. We've got some really useful information from PayRent, and I think our listeners are going to find these insights super helpful.
Definitely some actionable steps you can take away today. Should we jump right in?
Let's do it. Now, I think we all know that paying your bills on time is important, but I'm curious, just how much does that really impact your credit score?
It might sound basic, but it's huge. It's like the bedrock of a good credit score. In fact, your payment history is the single most important factor. And get this, just one late payment, even if it's just a few days late, can potentially drop your score by 100 points.
Wow, 100 points. That's a lot.
Yeah, it's a big deal. And what's even worse is that those late payments, they can stay on your credit report for up to 7 years.
7 years. That's a long time to be haunted by one slip-up.
It really is. So staying on top of those payments is crucial.
For sure. But beyond just avoiding the negative, are there any positive benefits to, say, paying early? Like, are there perks to being super proactive with your payments?
Absolutely. Sometimes companies actually offer discounts for paying ahead of time, so you're not just avoiding a hit to your credit score, but you're actually putting some money back in your pocket. Plus, consistently paying on time, whether it's a mortgage payment for landlords or rent for tenants, shows lenders that you're reliable and trustworthy. For landlords, that consistent rent collection is their bread and butter. And for tenants, it builds that creditworthiness for future opportunities.
It's all about building that solid financial reputation. So, any tips for making sure we never miss a payment?
Oh, absolutely. For a lot of people, setting up automatic payments is a lifesaver. Just link your bank account to those recurring bills like rent, utilities, or those minimum credit card payments, and boom, you never have to remember due dates again.
It's like setting it and forgetting it.
Exactly. But, if you prefer being a bit more hands-on, simple reminders can do wonders. Just set those recurring alerts on your phone or calendar, maybe a couple days before the bill is due, and you're good to go.
I do that for everything. Okay, let's talk credit card balances. We always hear keep them low, but what's the ideal situation here?
The magic number you want to keep in mind is your credit utilization rate. Basically, it's how much credit you're using compared to your total available credit. And you want to aim to keep that below 30%, even lower if you can. Like 10% is a good goal.
Okay, so let me get this straight. If I have a credit card with a $10,000 limit.
You ideally want to keep your balance under $3,000.
Got it. And even better if it's closer to 1,000, right?
Right. It shows lenders you're not overextended and you're managing your credit responsibly.
It makes sense. And paying down those balances doesn't just help your credit score, does it?
Nope. It gives you more financial freedom and flexibility. You have more available credit for those unexpected expenses or when those exciting opportunities pop up.
It's a win-win for sure. Now, here's something I've always wondered about. I've heard that older credit accounts are better for your score. Why is that?
It's like this. The longer you've been managing credit responsibly, the more confidence lenders have in you. Those older accounts add to the average age of your credit history, which is a big factor in your score. It's proof that you've got a solid track record.
So, hanging on to that first credit card from way back when, even if I barely use it anymore, could actually be a good thing.
It usually is, unless it has a crazy high annual fee and you're not getting any benefits from it. Keeping those older accounts open is generally a good strategy. Even just putting a small recurring charge on it, like a streaming service subscription, and paying it off each month keeps it active without racking up unnecessary spending.
Smart. That makes a lot of sense. Now, what about the different types of credit? Does that matter?
It does. Lenders like to see a good mix. It shows you can handle different kinds of credit responsibly.
So it's not just about having a bunch of credit cards.
Not at all. A good mix usually includes revolving credit, like those credit cards with fluctuating balances, and installment credit, like a car loan or a mortgage with fixed monthly payments. Having both shows you can manage different types of debt.
Got it. So if I'm thinking about getting a loan to diversify my credit, what's the key thing to remember?
Responsibility, responsibility, responsibility. Make those payments on time, every time, and keep those balances on your revolving accounts nice and low.
Makes sense. Now, flipping the script a bit, what about applying for new credit? Does that hurt your score?
It can. Each time you apply, it triggers something called a hard inquiry on your report. And those inquiries can ding your score a little, especially if you have a bunch in a short period.
So resist the temptation to sign up for every store card they offer at the checkout.
Definitely. Be strategic about when and where you apply. Unless you really need it, maybe try to space out those applications. Like one every 6 months is a good rule of thumb. The exception is when you're rate shopping for something like a mortgage or a car loan. In those cases, multiple inquiries within a short time frame are usually counted as one.
Good to know.
Yep.
Speaking of things to be aware of, let's talk about the accuracy of credit reports. Why is it so important to check those regularly?
Your credit report is the basis of your score. So if there are any errors on it, like an account that isn't yours or a payment incorrectly marked as late, that can really mess things up.
So what happens if we spot a mistake? What's the process to get that fixed?
You need to dispute it directly with the credit reporting agency that issued the report. Most of the time, you can do this online or by mail. They're required to investigate the issue, usually within 30 days. If they find the information is wrong, they have to correct it. And sometimes fixing those errors can boost your score pretty quickly.
It's definitely worth the effort to pull those free credit reports a few times a year and give them a good look over.
Absolutely. Now, here's something especially relevant for our renter listeners and landlords might want to pay attention to. Rent reporting services. These can be a real game changer for renters who've always paid their rent on time but haven't had that reflected in their credit history.
Yeah, I've heard about those. Can you explain how they work?
Essentially, services like PayRent allow tenants to have their rent payments reported to the major credit bureaus. So just like paying your credit card or loan on time, paying rent consistently can start building up a positive payment history.
So if you've always been a responsible renter, this is your chance to get credit for it.
Precisely. And we're not just talking about a small bump in your score. On average, renters who consistently report their rent payments see an increase of around 40 points. That can make a huge difference when you're trying to qualify for a loan, get better interest rates, or even just land an apartment in a competitive market.
That's a game changer for sure. And for landlords, understanding these services, especially ones like PayRent that make it easy for both parties, can really attract and retain good tenants.
It's a win-win situation, for sure. Now, speaking of rent reporting, California has been making some interesting moves. They've actually passed a law, Assembly Bill AB 2747, which mandates rent reporting for certain landlords.
So is it a requirement for all landlords in California now?
It applies to larger landlords, and the goal is to help renters build that positive credit history just by paying their rent on time. It levels the playing field, you know. You don't need to take on traditional credit to have a good score.
That's a big step forward. For renters in California, this really emphasizes the importance of those on-time rent payments. Okay, one last strategy I wanted to touch on. Becoming an authorized user on someone else's credit card.
Ah, yes. If you get added as an authorized user on a card with a good payment history and low credit utilization, that positive activity can show up on your credit report and potentially give your score a boost.
So it's like borrowing some good credit mojo.
Exactly, but, and this is a big but, the primary cardholder has to have an excellent track record. Any missed payments or high balances on their part will hurt your score too. And remember, they're still ultimately responsible for all the charges on the card, including yours.
It's a big decision, for sure. So much to think about. And finally, let's talk about keeping tabs on your credit score. Why is regular monitoring so important?
It's like keeping your finger on the pulse of your financial health. By checking regularly, you can spot any trends, see what's affecting your score, and catch any potential issues early on. You know, things like fraudulent activity or those pesky errors we talked about.
So it's not just about reacting to problems, it's about staying informed and being proactive.
Exactly. Think of it like a regular checkup for your finances. It gives you the power to make informed decisions. And keep in mind, things like recent credit applications and the age of those new accounts also play a role in your score.
It all adds up. Well, as we wrap up today's conversation, I think it's clear that whether you're a landlord looking for those trustworthy tenants or a tenant aiming for a brighter financial future, understanding and managing your credit score is essential.
Absolutely. The strategies we've talked about, from those foundational on-time payments to innovative tools like PayRent, and even understanding new legislation, are all stepping stones to a stronger financial future for everyone.
We encourage everyone listening to take a moment and think about their own credit situation. What's one step, one action you can take right now to start making a difference?
It can be a small change, a new habit, but over time, those consistent actions lead to big results. We've only just scratched the surface today, but hopefully you're feeling empowered to take control of your credit and your financial future. Keep learning, keep exploring, and remember, unlocking your financial potential is a journey, not a destination.
We hope you enjoyed this episode of Keys to Success. I invite you to check out past episodes and follow us on your favorite podcast platform to get notified when new ones are released. And when you're ready to simplify managing your properties, be sure to visit us at www.payrent.com.